God damn it.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Take the truth. I'll set you free.
Hit record in see what it looks like it's going. So yeah, this is definitely a different way of doing it, but you know what? I'm rolling with the punches. I didn't want to miss talking.
That's what we do, man.
Even though all this shit's going on, still gotta talk with the Nolan man. So I got people texting me. I got computers blowing up. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Face the Truth. This is an interesting week. My computer is in turmoil. I'm looking at it right here, and I'm very nervous because I have looming deadlines and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, we're still gonna keep the ball rolling, and I'm so excited to talk with my guest this week. I've known Nolan for I don't know, a while now, at least 7-8 years, maybe more, longer, I don't know. But super
Around
talented
there, yeah.
artist, and also used to be the president of ISCA, which we can talk about some of that stuff, and I'm sure there's a lot to talk about. But anyways, he's an awesome artist, super talented, and I'm looking forward to talking to him. So everyone, please welcome Nolan Harris. So, dude, thanks for joining me, man. I'm sorry it's been crazy. I'm on my wife's
It's
laptop.
okay.
You know,
It's okay. I think the AI uprising is happening because my computer was actually being a little fidgety itself.
yeah.
So when I got on and I got your Zoom invite, I was like, oh shit, here we go. This is like taking forever. And I was just so I'm hoping we can survive the rest of the week without Terminators coming to assassinate us.
Yeah, that would be good, man. Yeah, it's been so stressful. I hate when this kind of stuff happens because I'm the worst when it comes to computers. I'm glad I've got buddies like Grieger who can, like, he comes over and he's like, hey man, I know what to do. Yeah. And he comes over and he just takes my computer apart and does all this stuff. And I was like, it's in pieces, like freaking out.
Yeah, that's wild.
But anyways, how you been, man?
Good. I'm navigating everything pretty well. It feels like things are starting to like open up and people are happier and they're smiling a little bit more. It's been beautiful in Seattle, which is a rarity this time of the year, because usually it's just like, okay, case in point, last week, I think it was like Wednesday or Thursday, we had golf ball sized hail for like 10 minutes. Then the clouds opened and the sun shone down on me and I was wearing like a t-shirt and sweat shorts. And then an hour later it starts raining and it's cold and it's just like, it's a nightmare, man. So if you have like an outgoing personality and you get very excited when it gets sunny, Seattle's definitely not the place for you until around about June.
That's funny. Do you guys have blue clouds? Like, do you celebrate blue clouds?
Blue clouds?
Yeah, like when you see the blue sky, you're like, oh, it's a blue cloud. like peeking through the clouds.
There's like, you remember Portlandia when that came out a few years back? There was like a skit where the clouds would open and you just see like this little lone beam of light hit the ground and everyone in the park would like run towards it and like huddle under it and like, ah! And then they see another one, they run towards that. That's this time of the year in Seattle in a nutshell.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, we take full advantage of it.
I mean, it's pretty funny. I mean, it's a difference between where you are in Chicago, where Chicago is like, because we basically have all the seasons, but we don't have them like equally. Like in Wisconsin, I had, when I lived there, like decades and decades and decades ago, when I was like, a young lad. No, but we would have like actual spring and actual summer and fall and winter. In Chicago, it's literally like winter, and it's not just like, oh, pretty. No, it's like punch you in the face winter, and then it's summer, and it's like hell, like so hot, and like you can't stand it, and all of a sudden it's winter again. Like we have fall for like 2 days, so it's my favorite part of the year, and it's like literally like, oh, it smells lovely, and you see a couple like leaves turn orange and you're like, oh, and the next day the trees are just naked and it's
Yeah.
like freezing.
You have like
Yeah.
a 3-day window to take those fall photos,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it's like snow and ice. I actually grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I spent about 2 years in Waukegan, Illinois, drawing caricatures, and I was just like, holy shit, Chicago gets like seasons on steroids. Like
Yeah.
summer is super balmy, super hot, super humid, and then it's like you said, 3 days of fall. And then the winters are so freaking extreme. I used to cringe when I knew I was flying into O'Hare anytime between November and February, because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it there because
Yeah.
it's always so damn icy.
Was that Great America where you were drawing
Yeah.
at?
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
we're like, God, I don't want to say too long after Grigor was there. It was 2004 or 2005, 2006, I want to say.
Okay.
Around that range.
So were they doing the airbrush stuff still, or was it
No.
changed to Commons?
No, it was after the switchover. I really wish I could have experienced it under Fazen, because that was like at that time period, like when Grigor was there and Roger was there, it felt like, and also wasn't Rooston there as well?
Rooston, Steckley, Tom Richmond.
It was like a renaissance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesse Navarrete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a renaissance period, and I came in on the tails of Commons like 3 or 4 years later, and I was just like, ah, shit, I gotta follow these guys. Like this sucks.
Yeah.
Because you know Chicago. I mean the customer base and the people, they're very honest, right? They're honest, and that's what I love. That's what I want, But they are like straight up, dude. Like they're like,
Yeah.
if they got drawn by like Grigor like 4 years ago, and that's what they're looking for, and then they get me, I'm just like,
yeah, but I don't know, dude. I don't know. I love these kind of stories because, so like I never did that. I was trying to become an illustrator, and Gary contacted me. He found me like online. I think I only had like 3 paintings of mine on Tad Barney's nose site. So I think that was like the only website I had was that. And he's like, wow, you live in Chicago, your work's really great, you should come do caricatures at Great America. And I was like, oh, I can't, man, because it's like an hour drive. I actually live in the city, and I was like, I got a little baby and I can't, I'm working, whatever, but I really wanted to. But then he just invited me. He's like, why don't you just come and you can just come and hang out and see what it's like. And so that's around the time I met Grieger.
Mhm.
And I would go and I would just hang out, and then Grieger and I clicked right away. So I just hang out with Grieger, and I would watch him just destroy people, like to a point of I was thinking, do you like your job? Like, do you want to do this? Like, what's going on? And he almost had like an aggressiveness where I'm like, are you okay, bro? Like, and he just had like this, he didn't care kind of thing. So the only reason I bring it up is I never saw someone like him at that point of someone that was, because everyone else is doing, like, I would have kind of called them, compared to Grieger, I would have called them cuticatures.
Right.
They're trying to like sell as many as possible. And Grieger is like, wow, this woman, she looks like Jabba the Hutt, and her husband looks like that tall skinny guy with the worm wrap around, whatever his name is. I'm gonna draw him like that. And then he would just do that, and then they would dump soda on top of his head, and
you're not exaggerating, brother. You're not.
Yeah.
It's and you need that, though. It's like in that kind of environment, you need someone that's kind of like on the fringe, and someone that's like really pushing boundaries as far as that's concerned. I mean, you need that in every environment with multiple artists. You can't have everyone going at like the highest extreme, because you're setting a very violent expectation, for the customer base. So you need that balance.
You need like a serial killer in every group, basically. You nailed
it. Although in some instances, a few years later, they do end up being serial killers. So maybe we should change.
Oh God. Sorry, Glenn. That was weird.
I wasn't even trying to go there.
Yeah. Jesus. Man, that's there's way too many things going on there. but yeah, that's true though. Is that when you started basically in your caricatures? Was back then?
No, so it's not. I'm not going to say it's an interesting story, but it is kind of like a long reaching story. I started out really gaining an interest in it as a job when I was around 16 years old. And so I was working at this theme park in Cincinnati called Kings Island, and I was
Mm.
working in the games department, throwing 3-point shots, for 8 hours a day, which was awesome. That's like, this is great. I can get used to this. But I saw a caricature stand right across from me, and I just saw these people just kind of just plugging away, just drawing these cartoons. And for me, I was a huge comic book fan at the time. Caricature is always something that I appreciated, but I didn't really ever think about diving face first into it.
Mm.
So I started talking to the artists, and they would show me cool stuff like the ISCA newsletters. Like back in the day, they were just like a straight up like newspaper.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I would look at those and I'd be like, oh my God, there's like a whole world out there of people doing this. I should apply. So I applied, didn't get the position because there were just there weren't enough. There were too many slot, or I'm sorry, there weren't enough slot, or there were plenty of slots, and I just didn't fit.
Hmm.
I applied again the second year, still didn't get the job. Finally, when I was 18, I got the gig, and I started drawing caricatures, and that was in '99, so 22 years ago.
Hmm.
And did it all through college. I went to school at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, and I was kind of teeter-tottering between illustration and animation. It's one of those schools where you have to choose your major like right away,
Yeah.
and you're just like, I like everything, man. Like, I don't just want to do this. I don't want to be in this bubble either. So I eventually committed to 2D animation. So I made a short film, and I learned all the processes, and I learned all of the science behind animating by hand with hand drawn. And I did characters during the summertime, and that kind of kept me limber and kept me fresh. And I started to notice that, especially when I would do life drawing classes.
Yeah.
I would do these, which life drawing to me is like, and as well, that's what gets your blood going, that's what gets your blood pumping. And I would go to my life drawing classes, and we'd have our subject. I'd start drawing and working on the balance and kind of exaggerating the pose a little bit to make it have more weight.
Yeah.
And I would look around, and I'd be like, man, these artists all took the summer off. Like, they straight up, like,
Yeah.
they took the summer off, and I was grinding it out at a caricature stand, making money. And
That's
I
awesome.
realized, I was like, that's kind of powerful, man. And that's when I meet artists that are younger, that are in art school, I always tell them, find a job where you can draw during the summer, because you're just going to go back in with a leg up.
Yeah.
You're gonna get, like, maybe you got straight D's your freshman year, but if you draw caricatures for a summer at a theme park, I guarantee you the next year you're gonna be getting at least C's and B's, and then upward and onward from there.
That's the one positive way. You're gonna at least get a C.
It's art school, man. It's art school. It doesn't really matter what your grade is.
It's funny. That's hilarious, man. No, that's funny, because that's exactly what Grieger and all those guys were doing too. Is they were just trying to pay their way through art school. Yeah, that's interesting. Now I ended up doing live caricature. Another guy from Chicago said, "Hey, would you like to try live caricature?" And I had never done live caricature before. And this is after Gary, but this happened to be at Navy Pier in Chicago, and he offered me 1 day a week during the summer to come in. And he said, I'll teach you how to do like airbrushing and all this kind of stuff. And he never did. It was, I basically had to jump into it. And so, but it was kind of lame though, because it was just 1 day a week. And some days nobody would want to be drawn. And then other days I would just be slammed. But I basically jumped into it, and I wanted to just experience, because I was already working as an illustrator. And but I always had this like love for the live caricature thing. When I was a kid, I used to watch Tom Richmond in Minneapolis. I'd go to the Mall of America, and my parents would shop, and I would just be left at the caricature stand, and I would watch Tom Richmond. And I always thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And then later, Chris Rommel, like in Eau Claire, that's where I was from. So it's just weird how I had this weird connection with these guys from years before. But so I was like, yeah, I'd love to try the live thing. And I did it for the one summer and quit. It was a great experience because the one thing I got from it was how important it is drawing from life. And because up to that point, my caricatures was all from, my entire life was all drawing from photo references. And just that summer, like I can't imagine what it must have been like for you guys that got to do every day, how much you grow and improve, because I felt like one day a week, I was like learning so much just from drawing people. And then I'd start drawing people on the trains constantly. I'd just jump on the train and just sketch. That's right about the time that I went to art school. So I totally understand. I think that's really good advice, because I would say, like, just anybody in general, anytime that you have to actually draw from life. Because I don't know about you, but like, did you find life drawing to me, life drawing basically opened my eyes up to understanding not only just how to draw and interpret what you're seeing, because it's so much different when you see someone in front of you, like the foreshortening and all that kind of stuff, but just values and lighting and all that kind of stuff. It's so much different. So then when you go back to your studio work, it's just like, oh, wow, I feel like I just loaded myself up in the matrix with so much, like, power. So how long did you go to art school fully?
Yeah, I did the full 4 years.
So you got one of those degree things?
Yeah, I got a BFA.
Wow.
The B stands for bullshit.
Yeah.
Because and also kind of on the same token. Okay, so that comment that I made earlier is mainly in relation to artists that are already in art school. They've already made that commitment. They've already decided that that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
Most times when people ask me, should I go to school for art, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell them no. I am. And I got interviewed for some like online thing, I want to say maybe 6 or 7 years ago. And it was like, this is a professional caricature artist, and this is the helpful advice he wants to impart on you. And then I'm reading it, and it's just like, don't go to college for art.
Yeah.
Because one, they try to force you into a bubble immediately. Which I get it, it's part of the business model. You have to segment out all these artists because that's how it works. But I don't know very many artists that are just in one single solitary bubble. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like you said, doing that life drawing opens up this like door in your brain that helps you implement new methods into your illustration. So I just tell artists, and this is something I mentioned when we were on Clubhouse, just surround yourself with talented people.
Yeah.
Because that was the most valuable part of the live component, is being around other talented artists that can instantly critique you, instantly compliment something you're doing well. And then you can just take that and you can just mold it like clay into this stylistic, ability.
Yeah.
So but yes, I agree with you, man. Doing different things and trying new styles or trying new methods, that ultimately makes your big picture of your artwork look even more magnificent.
Exactly. And I think if you're dying to have a degree and you're like, because you want to, got to have a degree or something, go to business school. You know what I mean? Like if you're an artist, I would suggest marketing and business school, because I think that's the biggest problem all of us have,
Yeah.
Because I've gotten as far as I've gotten basically because I've worked really hard and I've developed my talent, and I'm continuing to push that. That's never going to stop. But I am still grappling, trying to the marketing thing, the business thing, is taxes. Everything is such an overwhelming thing. I mean, for me, my trick with it is, my wife is a much better person than me, much smarter person than me, much patient person. She's like the way better part of me. I'm down in my cave, just like drawing pictures and doing my stupid podcast and shit. And she takes care of everything. Like I'm like, I don't want to, like, I'm one of those people that I get stressed out with. I don't even want to see the bills. I don't even want to, like, I'm not a numbers person. So I'm like, I hand everything to her, and she's so organized. And She takes care of everything. And like, I found that when I did that, that just relieved so much stress in my life, where, you know, when I kind of like, because it wasn't like that before I was trying to juggle all these things. And
Right.
but that's another thing I suggest to artists: if you have a better half who is willing to like handle those kind of things, because I personally, I'm the kind of person that's just like, hey, I got, like, right now I've got like a bunch of jobs lined up. My energy is on trying to get these jobs done the best I can possibly do it. And all these other things, I'm like, I forward emails to my wife, like, please check this out. And that's why I have an agent as well, because,
Yeah.
you know, he takes care of all that paperwork crap and all that stuff. So, you know, if that's a possibility, I always suggest, like, you know, doing as much as you can to make it so you're just being an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
See, here I thought your advice was just to marry someone smarter than you.
yeah. No, because like I was married married previously. Most people know that, for a very long time, and it wasn't a very good experience, and I had no support, you know, with anything. So, you know, I've been married now for almost 7 years, remarried, and it's just a whole different game because she's an artist as well, and she understands, and it's amazing how much a difference it is being married to someone who actually supports what you're doing. You know what I mean? So, but how does it work for you on your end? I mean, because you're the one thing that I'm always impressed with you, and I would love to get into this with you, is you're also like seems to be very tech savvy and very you're very good at marketing yourself. You're very good with, you know, your promotion, your Instagram and different things like that. Can you talk a little bit about what your kind of philosophy is, or your viewpoint on how to balance those things, the art and the business side of it?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it kind of backtracking back to the caricature thing. When I initially moved out to Seattle, it was to run a business. And so I'm out here in Seattle with my friend Dexter Rothschild running a business called Over the Line Art. And it's a retail business, and then it became an entertainment business where we do parties and events, and then it became a multifaceted art conglomerate featuring face painting and henna and all this other crazy stuff. So I feel like a lot of the business stuff I kind of picked up from that. And that meaning I would focus on a lot of the marketing and a lot of the promotion for the business. So, you know, Dexter and I came up with the website concept, but then I would handle all of the social media. So I'm like constantly out there grinding it out, taking photos of the artist in action, highlighting really cool art, showing all the things we can do. And in the back end, I'm not even thinking about me and like my own personal brand or the art that I also want to do on the side. I'm just focusing on over the line art. So there came a point where I was just like, you know what? I do have a little extra free time now that the business is kind of self-sustaining. I'm going to start to focus a little bit more on my individual passions, and not to neglect this big thing that I'm doing that I make all of my money from, but I want to focus on me a little bit. So it kind of just started out with me doing, you know, wrestling drawings. Oh, there you are.
There you were. Was I frozen, or you were frozen?
You froze.
All right. Hopefully we're good.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all good.
You were talking about wrestling drawings.
Yeah. So anyways, getting back to like me focusing on me and my individual passions, I started doing some wrestling drawings, and then I got a phone call from this guy named Ron Howard. Not the director, not Happy Days Ron Howard, but some dude out of Florida that represented Hulk Hogan. And they said they saw a caricature I did of Hulk Hogan on Google that I did way back in 2007. This is 2012. And they said they would love to have me on board to work on some licensed apparel for the Hulkster.
Yeah.
So then I was kind of like in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, maybe this thing is kind of picking up some steam. Maybe I should really focus on this from a personal aspect and kind of see what happens. So I did a bunch of work for Hulk Hogan. I helped him with the development of his logo for his beach shop in Clearwater, Florida. A whole line of products for him, and it kind of took off from there. So at that point in time, I started balancing social media for Over the Line Art and for Nolanium. And I started to see a correlation between the two. I started to see things pick up for over the line art because I'm taking all these amazing immersive photos of all the artists. And I'm starting to see things pick up for me because I'm posting all this cool artwork that wrestlers are into, and I'm starting to get more work from it.
That's awesome.
So that was when it clicked on me that social media was a vital component to helping me achieve my goals as an artist. And it just kind of became a habit. And I just told myself after a while, I'm going to do a morning post, I'm going to do an afternoon post, and I'm going to do an early evening post. And if I can create a backlog of posts, maybe like in progress sketches, or maybe just a generic video of me doing whatever with my art, that can kind of like be the lead in to my big art post in the evening when I'm going to get the most traffic. So doing that, I just kind of got into the groove, and that's how I've been going about it for the past 4 years, I want to say. And now I can completely sustain myself with the freelance work, especially during the pandemic where, the retail stuff, at least in Washington, is pretty much non-existent.
Yeah.
But it's been interesting. My wife definitely supports it. She understands how important it is. And believe it or not, I'm still able to fit in a lot of the things in my life that I hold dear. I'm able to take hikes, able to hang out with my daughter, walk my dogs, and not stress out about that stuff too much.
Oh yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's one thing too, is the aspect of being a freelance illustrator, and then balancing that family life. But it's always I've tried really hard to maintain, I guess, a certain set of rules for myself. Like basically, I try to not work nights or weekends. That's basically as much as possible.
Right.
Of course, sometimes it happens. Like for example, like I told you, I had to turn down a Mad cover. The only main reason I did is because my computer is not working, and on top of that, and then a couple other deadlines, it's just too much for me to take at this point, especially with what they wanted me to paint. I knew that, oh my God, it's not enough time for me for this one. But normally for something like this, I would tell my wife, I'd be like, I cannot pass up a Mad cover.
Yeah.
And so do you care if I work? I'm like, the next few days I might have to work all day and night to get it done, but I'll make it up to you guys. Like we'll do something fun on the weekend or something like that, So I always try to do that. I always try to that's the one nice thing about being your own boss,
Yeah.
Like you can kind of balance things up, and but it does help to have that family that supports you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, like my wife, her job is very much entrenched in social media as well. She does right now it's online cooking classes. Before she would do it in person, but the entire backbone of her job is social media engagement and getting people to see what they're doing. So she totally gets that.
Yeah.
If she sees me kind of like tapping away on my phone doing this, that, or the other thing, she knows I'm not like looking up obscure comic books from the 70s. She knows that I'm working on a post that's going to help drive my brand, or she knows I'm like sending an email or an invoice. She understands that.
Yeah.
And we always have Friday. Like Friday's like our hike day where we go out as a family and we do stuff together in nature and just kind of unplug and just, take in the sights and smells of Washington, which out here you can actually breathe the air. So
it is beautiful out there, man. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there for a while, but a couple years back, Wacom had me out for it was in Portland. They had me at their main center there, and
yeah,
I was amazed at how it's a pretty cool city, but then within just a few minutes you can be out in the mountains and just gorgeous. It's I don't know, you guys have it all there, man. You got the ocean, you got mountains. It's pretty cool.
It's nice. It's really, and we got tech too, which is really cool because Wacom used to be in Vancouver, then they moved to Portland. We've got Wacom, and then we've got Microsoft, and we've got Facebook, Google, Amazon. All these companies are like driving things to like get better and move forward. So like I think I got to try out the Surface Pro before a lot of people. So there's the benefit of the nature, but we also get some pretty cool tech out here. before other people, which is nice.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
and that brings up something I wanted to talk to you about too is you're one of those guys that just really jumped on the iPad. Like I mean, I remember like when it was first coming out
Yeah.
with the pencil and everything, and it just seemed like, from my perspective, I wasn't excited about it. I wasn't expecting much because everything before that was just terrible. It sucked. Like
Yeah.
you remember how they were trying, like Wacom made like the pen that had all the, we had
I had that.
the huge rubber thing. Oh my
Yeah.
God. It was
It
just
was,
ridiculous to
yeah.
draw with. It's funny. So I was in Austria for the Eurocon or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. And Wacom found out that I was there, and they gave me an offer. They said, "Hey, we've got this it's a huge European convention, like tech convention. It's happening in Berlin. And we would love for you to, since you're already there, we'll pay for you, we'll fly you, we'll pay you to be there, we'll put you in a hotel, and we just want you to try out this new thing for us." I'm like, man, that sounds fun. And my wife was like, oh, cool. So they flew us to Berlin. They put us in this hotel, and it was really funny. It was called Hotel California, and it was in this area of Berlin. It felt like, I don't know if you're familiar with Miracle Mile in Chicago, like the strip with the John Hancock and everything.
Oh, right.
It just felt like this area of Berlin that was trying so hard to be America. It had like malls and all, we didn't, it was a really cheesy part, basically.
Yeah.
But they put us in this Hotel California, and I didn't know when I was supposed to do this thing. I had no idea. They just said, sit tight, we'll be in touch. So for about 2 or 3 days, I didn't hear anything from Wacom. And we would just like hire a bike and just ride around Berlin. We just explored Berlin on bicycle. It was really cool. Went to the art museums and everything. And I checked my phone. Nope, still no message, still nothing. And then finally, like I think the 3rd or 4th day, I get a text saying, hey, we want you to come for dinner tonight. They told us the place, and we're going to fill you in on everything. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we show up at this dinner. And again, I don't no idea what I'm doing. They have not explained one thing to me. And I'm just like in Berlin for like days. So we get there, we have this dinner, and there's all these important people at the dinner table. I didn't realize it was going to be even this nice dinner. Like I thought it was just meeting this one person. There was a guy that just did this huge TED talk about this whatever, and he was like super famous, and it was all like fancy, and I was like, man, I don't even know. Like I was just gonna get like maybe an appetizer, like so it was so like weird. But anyways, finally we get like the whole dinner. I'm like, what's happening? They finally pull out this thing that they're so excited about, this new product and it's that stupid pencil with the rubber thing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, so they're like, do you have an iPad? And I go, no. And they're like, get them an iPad. And I'm like, so they got me an iPad, and there was no drawing programs. All there was that stupid like note thing.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I had to do a demo, a live demo in front of everybody in this, huge convention thing where they plugged it in. So there's a giant screen, and they wanted me to do a caricature drawing of one of their CEO people with that stupid thing.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't draw with it. It was the worst thing to draw with. And I'm like, this is the thing that and so then I tried my best, and I was just so annoyed. I was like, someone just give me a piece of paper and a pencil and I'll draw this guy. And then they came up to me and they were like, so what did you think about it? And I was like, it's terrible.
Yeah.
I just told them straight, like, this is the worst, man. So anyways, that was just a really crazy experience, but it was a cool way to see Berlin. But when the Apple Pencil came out and everyone's like, this is the best thing in the world, I was kind of hesitant and not really jumping on the bandwagon. But then I started seeing people like you and different people. Grieger got one, and he's like, dude, it's the best thing in the world. It's the most natural drawing ever. And then Grieger came over, and he's like, literally, I'm coming over tonight. You got to see this, and then he'd come over, and then I got one. But I love drawing on it. But I've noticed you take it to, I don't know, like it's almost like you are using it in a completely different kind of way than I've ever really seen people draw. I mean, you've got a real interesting, like, I don't know how you have it set up, but like you're like the ink lines and everything, but I find it really fascinating, and the way that you do it, I know it draws me in.
Right.
And so it must be great for your social media, because when you post your videos, I'll start watching you just do a few lines, and I'm like, all of a sudden I'm watching the whole thing, and I don't know what it is, like the way that you're doing it or whatever, but
that's my belly dance. It's like my hypnotic belly dance. I suck people in with it, and then that's how I get them all hooked in.
But it is really fascinating to watch. I mean, it's just like, I don't know what it is about it, to be honest. I mean, obviously I think the drawings are cool, but there's something about how you present it that's a pretty interesting thing.
It's kind of funny. Your story cracks me up, for one, but secondly, there was like this 2 or 3 year period where being a digital artist was like this massive blanket term.
Yeah.
Where everyone just assumed that you could just draw on whatever and make amazing art. Yeah. And because I remember I started getting into doing live digital, in front of people, maybe 2012. And I was doing it on a Wacom Cintiq 13, tethered to a TV, tethered to a laptop, this whole crazy rig. And and you get eyeballs on that, and then all of a sudden everyone's just like, oh, you gotta demo this new product.
Yeah.
Because I think it was 2013 when Wacom's patent ran out. It was up, meaning that they were the sole proprietor of digital touchscreen technology for artists. And when that patent went up, that's when you started to see the Surface Pro pop up on the scene. That's when you started to see Yoga Book, all these other crazy laptops that you could draw on. And that's when people started to really start foaming at the mouth to getting artists to demo these really shitty products.
Yeah.
And then the iPad was definitely in its infancy with the rubber tips. I did my first iPad gig in 2012 with a rubber tip, and it was a nightmare, man. It was just an absolute nightmare. Yeah. And I took it kind of like a personal challenge to myself. I'm like, okay, I don't think I want to do this live with a rubber tip anymore, but I do want to see where I can take it from a commission standpoint. If I have a solid 3 or 4 hours to work on a piece, I'm going to see what I can do with this rubber tip to really push its boundaries and really push the quality of work you can get from it. So I developed a method called chiseling, where you draw a thick line and then you slowly chip away at it with your eraser tool until you get it exactly how you want it. And it took
for
fucking ever. But I would start to create cool shit.
Yeah.
And eventually I got called up by this developer for an app called Art Studio, which was one of the first drawing apps for the iPad. And I'm talking iPad 1, man. Not.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I want you to do some demo videos. I want you to create some content, and I'll have it as an exclusive tutorial on the app. And I'm like, yeah, man, this is great. Yeah, I love this. This is really, getting me out there, and that'd be really cool. And then I did a Procreate app tutorial, and it got all these hits on YouTube. And I started to tell myself, man, maybe this iPad thing is actually something I can kind of pursue and really, really try to make some cool things happen with it. So once the Pro came on and you got this amazing pencil that could do all the stuff a Wacom can do, that's when I realized just all right, you know what, screw it. I had a Wacom Companion at the time. It was great. The quality coming out of it was fantastic, but it was like having a heater in my lap.
Yeah. Yep.
That damn thing was so freaking hot.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to have children one day. So I was just I can't draw with this thing on my lap anymore. So I ditched it and I went full on iPad Pro. Since then, I haven't looked back. And I'm not trying to go off on a tangent or anything, but
no.
I got commissioned by Marvel Licensing to do a Guardians of the Galaxy piece. I want to say maybe 4 years ago. And I was like, hey, question. has anyone ever done anything just like solely on an iPad for you guys before? And they're like, no, but you can give it a whirl. You can try it, but we would prefer if it came in a PDF format with all of the layers labeled accordingly. And I was like, shit, I don't know how to do that. Not on an iPad. So what I did is I drew it on my iPad Pro in an app called Sketchbook Pro made by Autodesk. And then I imported it into Photoshop. And then I'm on my computer with Photoshop and I'm going through all these layers, which I know you're like mostly a one layer man. I'm a million layer man.
I use some layers, but I don't use like a bazillion of them. Yeah.
You don't. Yeah, you're not like obscenely gratuitous about it. Like no. I will have like a layer for like, you know, different color profiles, a layer for the background, a layer for this, that, the other thing, because I'm using like filters and crazy shit. And so I just dropped it into Photoshop, and I was like, okay, well, time to do some labeling, time to do some grouping, and I sent it off to Marvel, and they're like, thank you for your service. Here's your check. We might use this, we might not use this, but here you go. You got paid for it. And that's when I realized I can use the iPad Pro for anything. I just did something for Marvel on an iPad Pro. I can literally do an iPad Pro project for anybody now. So that's when I really decided, okay, I'm going to commit myself wholly to it and see where it goes.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and you've been like, you know, pumping things out with it. Like it's interesting just to see. See, the one thing about you, the difference between what you're doing and what I do with it is you've been able to develop a style that is it's got a really nice clean type, almost like very graphic, like, you know, like
it's very commercial.
And it's cool how you're able to work very quickly with it. You know, like I still do on my, you know, when I'm working on, I usually mostly work in Procreate. I really love how, you know, I'm starting to really love the painting in it a lot more too, because there's something about the iPad that just, like, I love that you can go in there and smudge with my finger if I want, or just, you know, I love that I can just turn it and just, you can really get into it. And I find myself when I'm painting on there for a while and I go back to work on my Cintiq, where it feels like just it doesn't feel as personal. So there's definitely something about that, but I feel like when I'm working on Procreate, you know, I'm still doing paintings. Like I'm not, my style, my aesthetic isn't, you know, like, you know, it doesn't have that kind of a clean look. But that's something that I like about your work, is you've got like this real nice, almost like pen and ink style that it seems like you can really pump these out quick, you know?
Yeah, it's the benefit of the live drawing. You know, when you are working at a stand for 10 hours pumping out art nonstop, it tends to make you a little bit faster with everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of that I brought into doing my commission-based work, but you know, I have a lot of comic book influences. I primarily came up reading comic books. That's how I developed a lot of my style artistically, and I continue to do so even to this day. Whereas I would kind of, when I first came onto the scene doing iPad stuff, I would try to merge my love for comics and caricature together.
Yeah.
And try to emulate artists like Dan Hipp, who I have a huge amount of admiration for, and Ed McGuinness. And then after a while, you know, as you get older, you start to appreciate other things. And I would dig through my old comics from like the 80s and 90s, and I'd see this amazing like inking and amazing hatching and amazing use of lines. And I told myself, you know what, I want to take it this direction now and try to emulate styles more like a Carlos Pacheco or a Mike Deodato, where they would have a little more feathering with their inking and they'd get a little more detailed. So but that's all hand in hand with the program. Procreate's evolved, you know, along with the artists. It's a much smoother program now. There's a lot more brushes you can download. Overall, I just absolutely love it.
Sorry, hold on a second.
Yeah, it's all good.
I'm telling my wife to lock my kid in a dungeon. No, that's really awesome. That's one thing I'm enjoying about your work too, is I love like what you've been doing with the line work, because it definitely has that. There's a lot of like really nice like comic like line work hatching. No, it's awesome, dude. It to me, your work is like eye candy. Like I really enjoy it. The one thing too I wanted to ask you about, which I think is really cool, is how you animate. I know there's like, I haven't really messed with it. I haven't had as much time to play as much as I'd like to, but I know there's people that do full on animations with Procreate.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? I'm just curious to learn a little bit about it, maybe if you're willing to share. But
Yeah.
like you got this one piece, for example, it's so cool. There's just tons of them, but Superman just floating there with his cape floating around, and it's so awesome looking. It's just like, man.
Yeah. It's there's this amazing app called Werble.
Okay.
Werble, I believe that's how it's spelled. But I found it a few years ago, and essentially you can just drop in your art. You have to save each layer as a PNG. If you want to do something like multifaceted, like having a cape like in the background or whatever, but it would really work for your art. I think for you should have something a little more sophisticated, because the problem with Werble is it's great for Instagram, because everything's like kind of like a low pixel ratio.
Yeah.
But if you want to use it for like an NFT or anything like a little more sophisticated, you're going to need something like After Effects to really achieve what you're looking for. But
Okay.
Werble's great. Like I started using it maybe 3 or 4 years ago with some like really cartoony drawings I was doing just to kind of have a little fun with it.
Yeah.
And they have these like little micro packs. So you get Werble, you pay to get the watermark removed, but then you also can buy these like little packs. Like you can get the fire pack, you can get the weather pack, you can get the freaking Star Wars pack where you can shoot laser beams out of your ass. It's like, but it's a really cool thing to do if you just want to try something different. But I thought about that with your stuff, because you see a lot of, I mean, obviously we all see a lot of moving art nowadays because of NFTs and what's happening with that.
Yeah.
But even with your art, like especially the diner piece that you put up on Foundation, even if you could just add like a little light element, like where it's just like a little flicker, like behind the old man in the foreground coming from the window, even something little and minute like that would take you like 2 minutes, and it would lend itself to the piece. Like it would actually, I mean, it's a beautiful piece regardless, but people now are conditioned to see things that move,
It's just interesting. That's so the Superman one, for example, with his cape,
Yeah.
that was, so you didn't like actually have to animate his cape doing it. It just automatically did it.
Yeah, there's like a motion function. So there's one called Pulse where things like move towards you. So a lot of people use that for like breathing, like a breathing effect, like they'll put it on the chest and it'll make it
Okay.
look like. And then there's
Man,
a wave.
That's so
a wave
crazy. Because this whole time
Yeah.
I'm like, how the heck did he like animate this thing like that?
I didn't
That's so
animate shit.
But see, that's so hilarious, because I was so confused, because I know that there's actually animation programs in Procreate where people, and I was like envisioning you like, having to draw it like all these different frames of that cape moving and all that. I'm like, how did he do that? So even like the one where you got like the beams coming out of the eyes, that's all like that program.
That's like a Star Wars, like thing. You just plug it in to his eyes, and then you can add like a light effect, and then you can diffuse the
That's
color.
so awesome.
But I mean, on Procreate though, I did do like a GIF, like a mild GIF animation. It's pure garbage, but I learned a lot from that experience, because, and you could do it too. If you import, so let's say you have your painting and you have the final file, you can import it in as multiple layers. So like, let's say you just want to do a simple thing, just import it in as 10 layers, and then just chip away slowly at each layer. There's like an onion function where you can actually see like what you're doing above and below what you're animating. But then you export it as a high resolution GIF or GIF or whatever the fuck they call it, and boom, you've got it. But there's also a certain level of finesse to that, because I tried to add bling onto a watch, and it just didn't look right. So it just takes a little bit of practice, and I think focusing on small, almost like environmental elements versus like a full-on animation is probably the best way to get started with that.
That's so interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I have I actually have an NFT, a blind box drop today. And it's 3 paintings I did for Rolling Stone. It's with a company called FM Gallery. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But there's another group that I'm doing a group drop with, and they're wanting to animate some caricature work of mine. And so, but like, so basically, like I have a Nancy Pelosi I did where she's sitting in her, getting her hair done. She's sitting in a chair and she's kind of looking like all mean and stuff. But they want me to make it so her eyes open and close. So I'm like, I have to actually go in there and paint several different layers of her of her eyes slowly closing so that they can animate it. But I'm like, if there's some program that just can do it, and there is. It's called After Effects. Just get After Effects, man. You can probably do that in like 10 seconds, brother. God, I have
just
to look into that.
Click the eyeballs and boom, they start to blink.
God, that's so. I don't know
it's wild.
I don't know.
It's a new frontier.
They also want me to like animate Trump's hair. Like there's another one I have with Trump they want to do. It's a painting I did of him holding a suitcase and he's looking over his shoulder, but they want to make his hair animated. I'm like, I don't know how to do. I don't do animation, but like, now you got me thinking. Like,
there's apps. There's apps. There's programs. With Wordle, there's even like a hair pack you can buy where it just has like waving strands of hair. It's nuts, man. If
so weird.
If Wordle could produce like higher resolution stuff, man, like the sky's the limit, but there's only so much they're capable of. But it's a great app. Even if you just want to play around with it and just kind of experiment, I'd highly recommend it.
I'll definitely check it out, man. That's awesome. So what kind of things you've been working on lately? What's been new?
So I've got a line. Jeez. Okay. So I don't know if you saw this, but I just recently had a sock line with Rock'em Socks.
Yeah. What? Let's get into the socks.
All right. So
this is crazy.
It's really cool. So I learned the power of licensing a few years ago. And there's kind of a reason I'm a content factory. It's because it gets eyes on my stuff. But on the same token, you never know who's going to call you up and say, hey, I'd like to license this for a year. So I did a thing with Topps. Topps Digital contacted me, I want to say 4 years ago. And they're like, we love your stuff. We want to use 6 of your illustrations. How much for each one? And I'm just like, oh, this is great. I can just name my price. They'll snatch it up and it's stuff I've already drawn. So fast forward a few years later, Rock'em Socks contacts me through a party that I met a year ago doing jackets. And they're like, we love your stuff. We want to do a sock line and we want to license these pieces. And if you have anything else you want to contribute, go for it. We'll pay you for that as well. So they recently got this line of socks out, and now I'm working on NCAA football mascots. So I'm just drawing a bunch of I'm just drawing a bunch of Jagaloons in costumes, which is hilarious because they want it to look like as not photoreal, but like photoreal comic booky.
Yeah.
Like what I specialize in. But they want it to be the people in the costumes. So I'm doing that. And then I'm jumping into some NFL stuff, which I'm really excited about. Not a huge football fan now, but I used to be. So I'm really excited about drawing like these iconic football players and action poses and stuff like that. So that's something I'm working on. I'm also doing another shirt.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really fun. I'm very lucky, especially during the pandemic, to like have these opportunities with companies I've networked with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on a Macho Man shirt, which I'm really stoked on. Get to draw Macho Man in all different iterations, and he's going to be sprinkled all over like a patterned shirt. So that's going to be really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Now, where are those going to be sold at? Like, is that for him personally, or is it actually like WrestleMania or whatever? Company?
So a lot of the artwork I do is licensed artwork. So like, I don't work for WWE directly. I've done like 1 or 2 things for them directly, but mostly I work with licensees. So a lot of the shirts I've done, a lot of the jackets, socks, all that has been through people that have the WWE license, which is great because they pay really well, which is awesome. But the shirts are going to be sold through Roosevelt's. Online, you'll know them as RSVLTS. But they make these like really fun pattern button-ups. They've done like stuff for the Goonies. I've got an Office shirt that may or may not be coming out if it gets approval. I'm hoping. They do WWE, all kinds of properties. So
That's awesome.
through the wrestling stuff, it's kind of helped me piggyback onto different properties like The Office. Hopefully, I'll get to do something else that I can't talk about, but I'm very excited about. But
Now,
yeah,
for
it's great.
these type of jobs, do you get is it just a straight up payment, or do you get royalties off of them, or
It's a mix.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
it's a mix.
is it something that you're allowed to create your own like prints of and stuff, or is it they solely own it and that's it? You can't make prints and that sort of a thing.
This is kind of where you walk the line because all these properties I'm drawing are copyrighted.
Yeah.
So, and I found that out the hard way earlier in the year. Maybe it was this year, maybe it was last year. But there's a thing called a cease and desist. And I've gotten a handful of them from a handful of different companies. And they seem to come a lot faster now that people know who I am. But back in the day, I learned that I can't sell prints of WWE properties because they're all copyrighted, even down to the likeness. So unfortunately, reproduction from a fiscal standpoint is out of the picture, but I can still use them for social media exposure. So
yeah.
I do contests routinely. That's kind of my workaround is I'll have a contest because, you can buy ads on Instagram and they're very helpful, but nothing gets engagement like a good contest. So I can do giveaways with the artwork and that'll drive traffic to my Instagram and my Twitter. That's my workaround, but no, I can't sell any of it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
How do you you're so amazing, Nolan. How do you do like the advertisement on Instagram or the contest? Like, is it like something you just a post you make, or is it like an official? Because I mean, I'm just curious, like how you're setting that up to like make more traffic. Because I mean, this is what I'm sorry, but this is what I find really interesting about this kind of stuff is the whole marketing aspect of this as an artist is interesting because, like for me, I with my Instagram, for example, I don't really do anything special or different. Like I've had people like contact me like, dude, you should have way more followers. I'm like, well, I'm happy with what I got. Like, I don't know. But then I hear like there's all these tricks. I don't know the tricks, Nolan.
there are some ways to work around the algorithm. You are very lucky in the respect that you're a name. I mean, you're an illustrator that's been seen in major publications. People are just naturally driven to your name and driven to your art. Me, I gotta hustle, baby. I gotta work for what I got. So Instagram is very interesting in the respect they have what's called an algorithm, which I'm sure you've heard a bazillion times. They're always changing it. They're always evolving it. As they say, it's for the better. It's a bunch of BS.
Yeah. All of a sudden, hey, no one can see my work all of a sudden. What's going on? Oh, it's for the better.
Yeah, if you're a supermodel, I guarantee the algorithm doesn't affect you. But if you're an artist, you're definitely seeing some changes.
Oh man,
I've seen all kinds of different methods. There's some people that will just straight up throw cash at these third parties to like bump up their followers through like arbitrary contests that they don't run. There's people that just buy ads directly through Instagram and they'll see an uptick that way. And then I've always been more of a grassroots kind of guy, just because that's how that's how I kind of made my name on Instagram, was just doing things the old fashioned way. So I did experiment with paying for ads and it worked out a little bit, but not as much.
What does that mean exactly? The paying for ads? Like, are you talking about like other people's ads?
No,
because I've been approached by that and I'm always like, no, I'm not interested in that.
No, not. It's not influencer shit or anything like that. It's basically you pay Instagram to get more eyes on your stuff. So
okay, I see what you're saying. Oh,
yeah, they got a magic button that they push where it's just like, oh, okay, so this many people are seeing your art. Okay, let's push the magic button. Boop. And then all of a sudden you've got like thousands of people seeing your stuff. That's essentially what they do. They just drive more traffic to you.
Okay,
and
that makes sense.
That could work to your benefit. sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But what I found is I enjoy more direct engagement with my followers.
Yeah.
Which is a huge vital component for artists now. Even like you'll see it especially in the tattoo industry. There's lots of artists that are directly engaging with their clientele through Instagram, or they're trying to reach new people through Instagram. So what I'll do is I'll have the occasional contest where I just tell people, comment, tag some friends, get some eyes on this. And what that does is that drives the algorithm up, because Instagram, in their magic, swordfish lab, they it's computer monitors everywhere. That's a really dated reference, by the way. Sorry. I just realized that now. But they will essentially see all this uptick in traffic on your profile, and that will just naturally drive your profile to be seen by more people. So case in point, I did a contest for 50,000 followers, and I said, just tag some friends and you could win these 6 prints. I got like over 1,200 responses. What that did was that got more eyes on my stuff.
Yeah.
And so that gets you more followers, and followers are kind of like equity nowadays.
Yeah. That's the main, I mean, really it's, I had to talk with this just the other day with, another friend of mine. That's the only thing that matters really about, like, I could care less how many people, some people, that's all they're like, I got this many likes and I got this. It's just like, to me, it's like, hey, is it going to open up a door for another job and, another opportunity? That's really what's important about it. But I mean, I think it's important too. I mean, we're kind of riding this thing as it happens, like 50 years from now, things are going to be completely different. But
dude, 5 years from now.
But I mean, as far as like, the people in the future, it's just going to be normal and natural, everything. We remember a time where it was before any of this stuff, and we've been developing along with the technology. Like, we were there when it started, and we've been with it ever since. And so we've had to learn how to jump onto Instagram and all these different things. Like I'm just now getting into the Clubhouse thing.
Right.
Which is really funny that I was on it, a few days ago. I've never really been on it before, and I got invited. I didn't know that I was going to have to talk at all. And so I don't know if you remember from the. I was kind of like,
it was hilarious.
I was kind of like, I don't really want to talk about myself right now. Like,
especially because Tom's there, and he's kind of like the draw, right? Like he's like why everyone's there, and then we all have to introduce ourselves and go on a diatribe about our lives.
It felt really uncomfortable. 'Cause I really had no idea that I was going to be having to say anything. I'm like, oh man. Then I was like, yeah, Tom's cool and stuff. Why do you use the blue pencil all the time? But yeah, no, I think it's important to have to jump on these things. Like I'm finding like the whole Clubhouse thing it seems to be mirroring, pretty closely with the NFT thing. Like there's a lot of like, so I'm trying to understand the NFT thing. I'm trying to, get out there with that. See what happens with it. But I've noticed like, oh, you got to be on Clubhouse, you got to be on Twitter. And I've never been one of those like Twitter. I could give a crap about Twitter. Yeah. But now it's like I'm having to be on Twitter now just to keep up with things. So I'm trying to do that more, but I kind of abandoned Twitter like 10 years ago.
Rightfully so, by the way. It's a cesspool.
Yeah. Like I don't even think I have a following on there at all. But everyone's like with the NFTs, like you gotta keep tweeting on the. I'm like, oh god.
It's work, man. It's intimidating. It's very laborsome, because I have a good friend of mine. His name's Salah Kadari.
He's awesome.
And yeah, he's amazing, an amazing artist. And I feel like the NFT movement has really helped him kind of like shed his skin a little bit and really like dive headfirst into creating the art he wants to create, which is so cool. But he has been like toiling away on these Clubhouse sessions, talking with people, that are in that field. I've definitely seen him a lot more on Twitter. I've definitely seen him pushing a lot more of his stuff on Instagram. But you got to like, even if you're a name like Jason Seiler, you have to grind it out.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's a completely new audience.
Oh yeah.
And some of the stuff they like, you're just like,
yeah. No, it's crazy.
You buy that?
Yeah, it makes no sense, man. The one thing I got to say too is like like my preferred social media is Instagram because, you know, it's mostly obviously just in images, but I'm the kind of person that likes to kind of stay in touch as much as possible with as many people as possible. If I've got a fan, if I've got someone that appreciates my work, I always take time to say thank you. I feel that that's more important than anything else. That I've met way too many artists that are complete dicks, and it's such a huge turnoff. And I just feel like it's a way that I can connect with people a lot more, you know, and that's why I like to do this too, because it's a good way to connect with people and try to like let people in on a little bit of what we do and what it's like. But Twitter is like the only place, I swear, like I said, I just started jumping back into Twitter because of the NFT thing. And man, I'm telling you, like 99% of every single comment I get is just completely negative and terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, what is with it? I don't understand it. It's like everywhere else I get people are positive and nice. I post something on Twitter and it's like, you're a fucking piece of shit, you know, and like it's like what the like,
yeah, right.
What is this place? Like, why does anybody on Twitter? It's terrible.
It's a really good question, man. It's kind of like a necessary evil. Like I feel like I
don't
have
get
to,
it.
I'm like a Twitter automaton. I just go on there, I post my shit, and I leave.
Yeah, that's what I do basically.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna do this thing. It's a necessary evil to get my work out there. But like, yeah, it's nuts. If you like doom scroll for even like 10 minutes, you're gonna have an outlook on life that's absolutely dreadful.
It's so weird, man.
Yeah,
it's just like,
and it's bad without Trump on there, so you know it's fucking bad. You know, it's like even without him, it's still a very negative place. So you just have to like be an automaton, man. You just got to go on there, post your stuff. Don't like initiate with anyone unless it's positive, because that's what Instagram and Facebook's for. You know, that's where you're going to get your positivity.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought Facebook was toxic before I went onto Twitter again. I'm like, geez, man.
Yeah,
because I just don't even have time for it. But hey, I've got a question for you, a fan question.
Questions from fans.
Okay.
You're up for that?
Yeah, let's hear it.
It's a real deep one, I think.
Oh, great.
by Jamie Rockwell.
Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, I figured you did because it's a real amazing question, I think.
All right.
He says, and by the way, Jamie, you didn't follow the rules. I got to say this, and this isn't just to you. Listen, I appreciate anybody supporting the podcast and being a part of it. I really do. I don't get paid for this. This is something I do because I love it. Okay. And I'm trying to get, you know, to talk to as many artists as possible. And it's just, I'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Okay. So jump off my back with all the weird, there's not enough women. There's not enough this. Women don't like to talk to me. I don't know what it is. Sorry. I'm trying.
I don't get it, Jason. I don't get it.
Yeah. I don't get it. No, it's just funny. I get so many weird messages about like, you got to do this. You got to, it's like, dude, I'm just doing this because I love doing it and I'm having fun.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. My whole point is this. Every week, I've been doing a podcast a week for going on 3 years now, once a week. And I post the things. I say, hey, here's a guest. You know, if you want to do some fan art, here you go. Here's the email. Send it to this email. Yeah. And then the other thing is, if you have a question, record an audio question.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Because it's more interesting and it's more fun, but nobody listens. Nobody. Like, I have to always write everybody, could you please send an audio? I don't understand. So guess what? So now, Jamie, I have to try to figure out what you sound like, and if it's offensive, that's your fault. Okay.
He sounds like Chris Kattan. Can you do a Chris Kattan voice?
I'm not sure if I even remember who that is. Who's Chris Kattan? He's
from SNL. He did that like Monkey Boy.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I could. I don't know.
That's pretty good.
Is it kind of like, I don't know. It's been a while. So
you nailed it.
All right. Well, let's pretend this is good. Okay.
All right.
He says, hi, Nolan. Does it feel strange that a clandestine app developer has cloned your brain and uploaded your conscience into millions of smartphones? That's his question.
How do I even address that? I don't even like.
It's a great question. What are you talking about?
Are we in the Matrix?
I think it's a wonderful question.
That's magical.
Yeah. So what's your answer, Nolan?
It feels pretty damn good. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but no, it feels, I don't know. Do you experience people trying to like duplicate, like do they make like fake profiles with your name and stuff on them or anything like that?
It's happened before. Yeah.
Yeah. Such a pain in the ass. I think that might be what he's referencing. But yeah, no, it feels good. I like being out there. I like people seeing my stuff. Is that an answer?
I don't know. I you know what? To be honest, you didn't send in an audio question, so I'm a little bit vexed. This vexes me. So anyways, has this happened to you within the last few years because of you're doing a lot more of like the wrestling stuff, that you're finding your work being used in other places though, that's like without your permission and everything? Because that kind of stuff happens to me a lot, and it's so annoying because of course it's like a huge ordeal, like to try to get it down. And
it's the worst. Yeah. It's like mainly I hate it because it's a waste of time for me. Like
exactly. Yeah. I
hate having to like hunt these jerks down and find out they're like in a third world country and there's nothing I can do about it.
I was gonna say it's usually always like dude, I found one time a bunch of my art was being sold on t-shirts in South Korea. Like in the mall. Like
how do you deal with that? Like there's nothing you can do.
No, someone sent me a link. They're like, dude, isn't this your artwork? And then they're like people posing in like a Napoleon Dynamite painting I did like 15 years ago, and like on a t-shirt and stuff like that. It's like, what the heck?
Listen, man, anyone that buys that shirt, hey, more power to you. If you're buying a Napoleon Dynamite shirt, for whatever.
but it is weird. It's just like, it's very strange, and like, do you remember that? Like, I think I did this just before Trump was elected. I did literally a 60-second drawing of Trump with like a blob with an ass,
the butthole,
in the mouth. Yeah, literally. The only reason I did it was the night before was, I think it was the Republican debate, which is a complete joke,
right?
Where Trump was just literally, Trump didn't say anything political at all. Nothing about what he was going to do. He was just arguing with Jeb. He's like, oh, Jeb's a poo-poo face. So he's talking like, he's like, he's just calling them names, like lying dead, okay. And just like, that's all it was. Just throwing shit, name calling.
Yeah.
And I remember I drove my kids to school in the morning, and I was listening to like a news program talking about it. And I was just thinking the whole time, like, how ridiculous. I don't understand how, like, this is a joke. Yeah. And not one part of me thought he was ever going to become the president. I was just like, why are we wasting our time letting this guy even on the stage? Like, this is a joke. And so when I got back to my studio, I told myself, I'm so annoyed right now that I'm just annoyed with this dude. He's just an ass. And then I just had the idea. I'm like, I'm going to draw how I'm feeling, and I'm going to give myself a minute to do it. And I literally timed myself and I drew it. And I thought it was funny. Right.
Yeah,
but I didn't post it at first. I was like, cause I'm used to like posting like drawings that I've spent all this time on all this stuff. And then I thought, what's pretty funny. So I'll just share it. So I shared it, dude. The thing went viral. It was crazy. Like, it just like went crazy. And my whole point is, like, maybe a year and a half ago. So obviously he's president and everything. I see on Twitter, someone tagged me or sent me a message on Twitter, some like, anti-Trump protest site or something had been using my Trump to like the exact same thing, like, but been mass producing it on like t-shirts and signs and all kinds of things for protests and different things.
Right.
But they were selling like and they were like making like big signs and all this kind of thing of my 60 second Donald Trump thing. And they even had it as their headliner, and on their Twitter page, it was like the cover page. It was like my thing. And I'm like, first of all, I'm like, that's really not the image I want to really be known for. Cause it's just like, I didn't even care about it. It's not like something, I don't have any pride in the image, it's just a dumb doodle. But at the same time, like, I wrote the guy, I'm like, what are you doing? That's my art. That's my piece of crap art that I did.
Yeah.
Like, and he was actually pretty cool about it. And he said, you know, he apologized. I shouldn't have, I didn't. And I was like, you just didn't think you were going to get caught, you know?
Yeah.
And he goes, well, what can we do to make this better? I go, well, just, you know, you can just give me credit or something. Maybe do a post and what he actually did was he took it down and he sent me a check. And I was like, oh, that's nice. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't even asking for that. You know, I was just,
you're gonna sue him or anything, you know?
No, I just was like, I really just wanted him to be like, hey, you know, you can't do that. You can't, like, you gotta at least talk to people, ask for permission. And I even told him, like, I'm not opposed to you using these things for this stuff. You just can't, like, that's stealing. With, you know, at least ask the artist and talk to them, give them credit. Because that's the thing that really annoys me the most about this kind of stuff is I can't tell you how many times in my career that I've seen my work used different places, no credit. You know, I've even had my art published on covers of magazine before where I had to get my agent involved and stuff. And, you know, like, but it's like, how did you think you were going to get away with that?
Yeah.
Like, especially now when you start to have a following, some, you know, like someone wrote me like, hey, Jace, I just noticed you on the cover of this magazine. And I noticed you did, it was a painting I did of Einstein a long time ago. I thought you did this for a book cover. And I was surprised that someone else is using it for a magazine cover. And I was like, what? I never did that.
And it's domestic, like it's in the States?
I think it was actually, yeah. I can't remember what magazine. It was like a science magazine. But anyways, we had to contact them and go through this whole thing. And it's just like, what were you thinking? Like, you know, it's mind blowing. I know it's happened to Joe Bloom before too, where someone just took one of his paintings and just published it in a cover of a newspaper.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What are you doing?
It's like, and it's kind of like the irony behind all of it is 9 times out of 10, the shit that they take is the stuff you're the least proud of.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So like I get into these, like, you know, I've met so many people through social media that do what we do. You know, we're really blessed to have such a huge network of artists that we can trade stories with.
Yeah.
But there's one particular, he's just always like, man, how come the posts that stick the most is the shit that I only spent 30 minutes on? And I was like, brother, take that as a sign. Just spend 30 minutes on the rest of your art for the rest of your life. You'll be a very rich man.
Oh man. Yeah. I mean, that's true though, man. It's true. I always say like I'm very, you know, I'm very happy and proud of, you know, what I've accomplished. But at the same time, I kick myself, you know, all the time because, you know, when I was first getting started as an illustrator, the guys that I was looking up to was like Leyendecker and Rockwell, CF Payne, Roberto Prada, you know, these illustrators that, you know, they were doing caricature type work, but they were, you know, also pushing themselves with realism and rendering and, you know, so I really took a lot of, you know, I put a lot into like trying to figure that out and develop my own technique and approach where I want to illustrate like that, where I can push things and exaggerate, but paint it in this really realistic way that, you know, the goal is you want people to go, whoa, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so that's what I ended up developing. That's what I ended up doing. And that's my work. That's what I'm known for. That's what I do. But then I see people that, you know, are doing stuff that's so brilliant, but way more like simple and like even like what you're doing. I'm not saying it's like simple, but like I can tell that, wow, he can pump those out if he wants to.
Yeah.
Or oh, why am I blanking on his name right now? I feel like an idiot because he's been on my podcast. I am totally blanking on his name. Anyways, he was on my podcast a while ago, but he does amazing work. He does Dean something. God damn it. Anyways, he does covers for the Washington Examiner and different things. Mm-hmm. And his work is just phenomenal. It's not simple. and I know some people think like when I say this that I'm saying that someone's work is simple. That is not what I mean. I mean that when you look at it, Dean McAdam, do you know who that is?
No, it doesn't ring any bells, but I'll look him up.
I forgot his last name. Sorry, Dean. You know I love you. But Dean's work is freaking genius, dude. His work is probably some of my favorite caricature work to look at because it has such a simple feel to it. I know it's not. You know, it is complicated, but it's hard to explain. You'll know when you see what I'm talking about. He's got a very clean like aesthetic and design to it, and he can do it really way quicker than what I can do. Like he can pump them out, and that's what drives me nuts. It's like, wow, he can pump out a cover. He can have way more characters in his piece than I can, because we're both getting paid the same amount for the cover, but for me, it's like, dude, if I'm going to paint 6 to 8 people, I have to kill myself to do that.
Yeah, you would.
Where he has like this technique. And so, see, that's what I kind of get jealous about sometimes, where I'm like, man, like I want to develop a style, but it's too late. I can't like just completely change my style.
Yeah, you can't backtrack, but you can still like put different spins on your style. I mean, like,
yeah. I've done it before. I've done it. There's times where I've done stuff where I'm like, I kind of negotiate like, hey, listen, I really want to do this for you, but with the amount of money that you're paying me for this and the deadline, I would like to simplify my style a little bit. And it's still going to be really nice. It's just it's just not going to be like this painting. It'll just be something, you know.
Well, I mean, you did like a Black Keys for Rolling Stone that I felt was a bit of a departure, and I absolutely loved.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like where you are as far as an artist, is you don't have to sacrifice any of the things that you've grown and cultivated stylistically. You just put a different spin on it. I mean, that happens. You have to evolve, right, man? Like you have to. That's like that's the thing I hate most about the art world, is that you get successful and all of a sudden you're in this bubble, you know. Going back to the college thing, it's like, fuck, I don't want to be in that. Like, I want to experiment because I feel in my heart I can do all these different things that I love.
Yep.
You know, why do I have to sacrifice this piece of me just to make money? You know what I mean?
Oh, so, yeah. No, I think it's important to always, you know, I'm a big believer in always pushing and changing and evolving and growing. And to be honest, my approach has, I guess I wouldn't call it simplified, but like I used to be more focused on, you know, early on, I used to be more focused on just painting as realistic as possible. And like every little like pore and I was trying so hard to just like blow people away. Like, look at what I can fucking do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at this fucking awesome drawing. You know what I mean? But now I'm like, dude, I can do almost the same thing, have the same feeling, and almost make it, and it's almost more artistic and, you know, alive feeling with more painterly approach, where I can loosen up more and make it. And to me, it almost feels more exciting because you can kind of see the brushwork and stuff. I still try to get really, really tight when I can and whatever, but I've been getting way looser. Do you find yourself doing that as well? Like because I know like after you do it for a certain amount of time, you're always trying to figure out how to say just as much or more, but with less, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like there was a certain point where there's like an expectation, I want to say, for this type of art that I did.
Yeah.
But what I try to do is I'll try to how can I say it? I try to conceptualize it differently, meaning I try to convey more of a feeling, more of a vibe, versus, you know, like we can all capture a likeness. That's what we're trained to do, you know.
Yeah.
But how can I capture the essence of this performer? How can I capture everything that they've been known for? Like I recently did a drawing for a wrestler called Kane. And Kane, his whole persona is based off of fire. It's based off of the supernatural ability to create fire. And so what I did is I made sure I had a flame coming off his hand, and I made sure it was very red heavy, and that it had like a kind of like a smoky vibe to it. That's kind of where I try to push myself more now versus what I used to do, which was just like a representation.
Yeah,
Just like, it's like, this is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now I try to like capture the feel and the essence, and I want you to fucking hear that entrance music when you see my illustration.
Yeah.
But on the same token, I like being a chameleon, because for these pattern shirts, for example, I do a more simplistic cartoony style because of the way the printing process is. I can't do super high detail stuff.
You can keep it like in simple print layers, like 4-color or whatever.
Yeah. Try almost like emulate kind of like an Illustrator, vector, kind of vibe. But then on the other hand, if I'm doing like an illustration for a print, or if I'm doing something that's more high profile, that's bigger, I can really, stretch my wings with it. But
that's awesome.
As someone that works in apparel for the most part now, I have to make the distinction of what the product is and what kind of art I can create that's going to service that product the best. So socks, not super detailed. Pattern shirts, not super detailed. Oh, I'm doing a poster? Fuck yeah, I'm gonna go crazy on this guy. Yeah. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I still like to mix it up, because I have the luxury of being able to do that. I'm not Jason Seiler. I haven't had anything on Time magazine. I have a T-shirt that's worn by a 14-year-old in Michigan that goes to wrestling shows. So I have that luxury of being able to like mesh my styles to different types of products and do different things.
Well, that's awesome. It's funny that you said that with the Time magazine thing is, even for me with that, like, for certain magazines and publications, actually with any kind of commission, it really just comes down to the aesthetic and the direction, or the I guess vision of the art director or actually editor, most likely. And it really comes down to their vision and what you can do for them. So, there's the parts in the illustration where, yes, I've developed a certain technique and style and look for my work, where someone will contact me and they'll say, they'll even usually show me some of the examples, like, we want you to do a painting like this. I'm like, okay, cool. So that's what I do. But there are those few. My favorite publications to work for are like Rolling Stone and the New Yorker. Both those clients have always been where, and unfortunately, I haven't gotten to work with them as much as I would like. Like, it seems like far and few between. But I feel lucky that I've gotten to work with them a good amount of time. But their direction is usually something like, just make it look cool.
Yeah.
And that's why, like with the Black Keys one for Rolling Stone, they only gave me 2 days to do it. I think actually that one was a day and a half. That was a really quick one. And my whole goal was, okay, I only have this amount of time. So what can I do to make it look cool, but still have that quality, that finish that I need, that I want? I still want it to be like, damn, that's a Seiler. That's awesome. Yeah. That's the goal all the time. But so when deadlines change, you're forced to conform or change some of how you would actually do this. But it helps so much more when the direction is just make it look cool.
Yeah.
So like I'm gonna leave some sketch lines. I'm gonna do some splattering here. I'm gonna actually paint with some watercolor and scan that in and add that texture and whatever. Just have fun, create a piece of art.
Yeah.
But then you got things like Time, where like when I did my Pope cover, there wasn't really any direction. They just wanted to just do a real beautiful painting of the Pope. The only thing was, they said, we want his mouth closed because he's got this underbite. We don't really want to show that. Mm-hmm. And so I had to kind of make that up, because the pictures they sent me to paint from, he had a big smile. And I'm like, yeah. So a lot of people don't realize I had to kind of make up his expression in that, which again, thankfully my caricature stuff came into play. But then the next time I was asked to do a cover for them for Person of the Year was to paint Angela Merkel.
Right.
And for that one, they gave me these kind of really crappy references of her, but it was the best that they could get. of what they wanted. And their instruction to me was to paint it as photorealistic as possible because that's what they wanted. And I'm so proud of what I did for those pieces because they turned out, super, like I killed myself on it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I'm still annoyed to this day because when anyone sees it, they're like, that's just a photograph. But they don't realize that's what they asked me to do.
Yeah.
Because they had crappy photographs and I made it look like a really good one. But what sucks is they did choose Angela Merkel that year to do.
I remember.
And but it was like this real expressive, brushy, loose, real buttery,
and it was
thick
like,
painting.
Wasn't it like a close up too?
Was her
it like
face like this? And it was just like so bright. And I'm like, and I remember just it really messed with me because I'm like, why did you guys? I mean, I guess they were like, hey, we want a super hyper realistic one, we want a loose one, and we're going to decide which one. But it made me like have an inside battle in my mind and my soul because I was just like, I could have done something like that. I could have done something more expressive and loose, but I felt so like kind of directed that I had to do this specific thing. So then years after that, I became when time hires me, now I'm more like, okay, what do you guys want from me? I can do loose, I can do tight, I can do expressive because I don't want to feel that way anymore. And I don't want someone else to come in and take it from me when they did something else that I could have done better, I think. But I guess that's one thing that we deal with.
Totally.
Like,
yeah, we're all victim. Well, I'm not gonna say victims, but we're all a byproduct of our direction. Like I've had art directors give me direction on stuff, and in the back of my mind, I'm just kind of like, I know that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Like I know that's not gonna service this the way that they think it will, and then I fucking do it anyways. And guess what happens?
Yeah.
You get that email. Nah, this doesn't work. Yeah, you're right. You were right. I'm like, I was right before I drew the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm always right. I've had experiences where I was told to do something and I did it and I didn't think it was going to work and it worked out swimmingly. So you just like, we're all a byproduct of the direction we get. I just hope that it's good most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is it's like you for me, it's like this. When it's a job like that, there's a lot of pressure. That's you're already feeling like this weight on you, but not knowing. See, like when it comes to the time thing, now I know. When I first started working with them for the Time Person of the Year thing, I never knew that there was other artists that they were hiring.
Oh,
but now, of course, I know that whenever they hire me to do something, they're also hiring other artists to paint the same person or paint other people. But now that I know that, like for example, this with the Biden, with the Biden Kamala cover that I did, that one, I'm like, listen. Now I feel more comfortable now. And this is the reason I wanted to talk about this because I wanted to know how you feel about this. But I feel more comfortable now where like, even though like, some people like you or different people say, oh, Jason Seiler, he does these covers and this stuff. I'm still this person
right.
who still feels a very much amount of pressure and stress. When Time Magazine wants me to do something, it's like, dude, I know how many people are going to see it, how important it is, and I don't want to fuck it up. And on top of that, I want it to feel good. I want it to be a good piece of art.
Yeah.
And so like this last year was one of the first times where I felt like I'm just going to paint and I'm going to do something that makes me feel good as far as a painting. Like I felt that kind of freedom finally.
Yeah.
So, it's something that I think it's not just because you've done hundreds and hundreds of covers or whatever it is. It's not like you just have it, you have it all figured out all the time.
No,
as an artist.
You're not magical. You're not Gandalf all of a sudden.
No.
You're still fucking, and we all have those insecurities. That's what drives us. I mean, that's what drives us to get better and try to excel. And I think, man, what the struggle I really feel this for you is like the political element. You know, you're even if you do an amazing piece of art representing these two political figures, there's still going to be half of the country that fucking hates those people. And they're going to take that out on you, on your art, even though what you created is something beautiful. So I'm very thankful that I don't have to worry about that. Fuck, anytime I did a caricature of Trump, like in the past 4 years, I would get so much negativity in my Instagram comments. It would blow my mind.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like, damn, dude, I can't do this. Like I would just kind of sit back and just like, you know, eat my popcorn, you know, and watch these people just rip each other apart. But it's just like, you know, you're creating amazing art and they're all different in their own right. But I can't even imagine the weight you must carry with the fact that these are political figures. That
it's annoying.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
I try not to care too much about it. Like the thing with the Biden thing was that was a cover that I mean, I was really excited and very proud of it, but I wasn't expecting to get the kind of backlash that I got from it because, you know, people, you know, living in Chicago, you know, for the most part, people around me can't stand how things have been and everything. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be a great cover for me because it's a change that I think a lot of people were hoping for. And we got our first female vice president. Like, this is amazing. Like, and so, yeah, it's one of those things where when I did go back and when, you know, I started getting direct messages and different things, it's like, whew, wow. Like people are like, yeah, but you know, it happens. I try not to let it get to me too much, but does that stuff happen to you with when you're doing like do you ever hear from the wrestling people that you're painting or from fans like that are like diehard fans and are like, that's not, his deltoids don't look like that, you know?
That's the benefit of making everyone's muscles bigger in my drawings. Every time I do a drawing, I'm always like, okay, let's amp up the delts a little bit. Let's push out the shoulders. Oh, let's make the boobs a little bigger, you know, for the men and the women, of course.
Yeah.
I don't discriminate, but no, I've gotten mostly favorable responses in regards to my wrestling artwork. The wrestling community is a very opinionated community. I would almost liken it to the world of politics in many respects. But it's just fucking make believe, you know. Like we have a term for the people that take it too seriously. It's their marks. You know, they mark out and they get a little too passionate about their performer of choice. Yeah. I find it more when I draw female characters. So if I draw a female wrestler and her nose is too big, I'll get some shit. And then usually the direction I get when I do draw wrestlers for like a piece of merch is they'll give me a heads up right away. They'll say, this guy's kind of going a little bald. If you could fill things up there, that'd be really nice.
Yeah.
So, you know, I understand that and I implement it. But no, I've been pretty lucky in many respects as far as responses.
Did they ever have any nipple direction for the men? Like, hey, listen, this guy has pepperoni nipples, but can you give him some sausages? You know,
are you ready for this? All right, here we go. All right, here we go. All right, so I did some pieces for Topps where they licensed the art, okay? So I had already done it. It was already in the bag. And WWE is known for having a changeover in art direction like every couple of years. They just like completely change their mentality or what they like, what they don't like. Well, I guess this year they didn't care for nipples and veins, okay? And I'm just like,
that should be the name of a comedy special, Nipples and Veins.
Nipples and Veins. Yeah, there you go.
I love it.
So I'm like thinking in my head, like, okay, there's three things that I think are synonymous with wrestling. Greasy, sweaty bodies, nipples, and veins. What the fuck else is there? So I go through it, you know, I eliminate all the veins from all the drawings. I eliminate all the nipples from all the drawings. Some of them I put t-shirts on them. And then I hand it off to the art director. And then guess what? Now they just don't give a shit. If you see veins, draw them. If you see nipples, draw them. It's nuts. But no pepperonis, no salamis, no mortadella. Thank God. It's been really fun, man. It's been a fun experience so far.
That's awesome, dude. Hey, this has been fun, by the way, man. I'm really having a good time talking to you. Before we go, I want to show you some fan art real quick.
Yeah, man.
So I'm gonna switch this over to this. Let's see if I can do this right. I'm on my wife's computer, and it's
all good.
Hold
and
on.
you have a few mainstays, don't you? You have people that contribute weekly, right?
Oh yeah. Here we go. Do you see that?
Yeah, that's rad.
Awesome. So this is by Jacques Lemonnier, and he's a solid artist, man. He does really strong likeness structure, really good cross hatching, and he's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And is this all graphite?
Yeah, I believe so. Sometimes he will do some tinting in Photoshop, but
that's phenomenal.
Here we go. This is by Dominic Zeilinger.
Oh yeah, I know Dominic Zeilinger. I drew him. I drew him for Manny's book.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's
awesome.
Hi.
That's actually kind of where my hair's at nowadays. Let me see if I can.
I can't see you at all right now, but
yeah, it's almost there. Yep, it's pretty good.
That's funny. This is by rad. Mr. Ponce.
Oh, that is really cool.
Kind of look like a wrestler there.
Yeah, I've gotten a few comparisons. I've got a very large, rigid frame.
A lot of veins, a lot of nipples.
Yeah, lots. Oh well, yeah. It doesn't matter what the temperature is in the room. I'm nipping all the time. That's rad. Who did that?
This is Pablo Salas.
Wow, that is so cool. It's got like almost like a Ren and Stimpy kind of vibe to it. It's wild.
Yeah, it's really good. It's got a lot of awesome energy to it. It's really nice.
I love how so many people, they neglect to draw my nose. I love my nose. It's one of those noses where it's just like I can't say it's a ski slope, but people don't do the nose. They always focus on the lips and the forehead.
Yeah.
So that's rad.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's nice. And here you go. This one, I'll try to zoom in on this a little bit more, but this is by Christine Varadi.
I've seen her work. She recently followed me on Instagram thanks to you, and I dove into her profile. She's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, she's pretty good, man.
Wow.
I wasn't able to download the higher res that she sent me, so I'll add it when I edit this all together. But
yeah,
she's a really good painter.
Absolutely. And this is, I'm assuming this is Photoshop, yeah?
I believe she works in Procreate, actually.
No kidding. That's freaking amazing.
Yeah. I'm assuming because like when you're paint. I mean, I don't know how much you paint with there's like a brush I love. I think it's called Salamica, and it leaves like these little pixels that little blank pixels everywhere. And
really,
it makes it feel more like an actual paintbrush. Like there's like little spots that don't go all the way, or paint or cover up everything. But I kind of will go over my painting and paint some of that stuff away when I'm working in Procreate. I've noticed that in her work, so I'm assuming that's what she's using.
There's a few apps out there that I've kind of fiddle-farted around with, but there's one, I believe it's called Fresco, that Adobe made, and they kind of try to simulate the whole texture, like the actual paint texture of like oil paint and all that, and it's pretty cool. That's really awesome though. She did a great job.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a really cool style. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
Here's one by Lars Eric Robinson.
Yeah, I know Lars. Lars. That's awesome, man. Thanks, Lars. That's great. I was at a whiskey bar in San Diego. Did you go to the San Diego convention? Were you at that one?
No.
You were at Memphis. That's right.
Yeah, I was at Memphis. Yeah.
Yeah. San Diego's a good time.
Oh yeah, this was great. I love this. This is by Dustin Clark.
That is really cool.
Yeah, I love the style.
Dude, I'm loving this. This is so cool. This is such a rad thing that you do that they do, but you make it possible. That's so cool.
That's fun, man.
Yeah.
It's by Juan Maktovich.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's a staple in the Iska-verse. God, man, it's amazing. He astounds me. You talk about people that can just like, turn stuff out. He's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. Like the things he did, and I never really had a chance to properly thank him when I was president, but man, the workshop that he did.
That was the last one, by the way.
That's awesome. His workshop was and still is a very vital component to, I feel like, the membership experience for ISKA members. I know we haven't really talked about ISKA much, but he really has been almost like an anchor for the organization, keeping that going. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I had no idea. I did not know that.
And I think I think maybe there just needs to be a little more visibility around it. But he does a monthly workshop. I think he picks 4 people that have had their birthday in that month, and people just post their art, and then they just give each other critiques. Oh,
that's cool.
It's like a safe place for people to talk about the process and things they need to work on, versus just putting it out there and having a bunch of randos like tear it apart or say it's good or bad.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I'm hoping the convention happens again this year.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I definitely want to go.
Yeah, I'm planning on it. We'll see. it's right now. It's hard to tell with anything what's happening, but I'm planning on going and doing stand up and then attending the convention.
I'm not going then. I'll see you some other time.
No, I'm not gonna do stand up there.
Okay, I'm just joking.
I'm gonna do stand up in Vegas.
No shit. Where what are you eyeballing? Are there any venues?
I'm planning on making a trip as soon as possible, actually, because Brad Garrett he has a club, Brad Garrett's Comedy Club. It's in the MGM, and so he said anytime I'm in town, he'll put me up. So
that's great.
I'm gonna try to go sometime this summer. I'm hoping to go do a set there, and then if the convention's going to be in Vegas, I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to be in Vegas. I'll do another set.
Yeah.
So any time I can try to get up somewhere and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? I mean, especially the MGM. That's a great venue. I remember that's the home of the Pussycat Dolls.
Well, that's awesome.
It's the MGM Grand and Bobby Flay's Steakhouse, baby.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I'm just like, I can't wait for things just to have. I mean, I'm waiting for things in Chicago just to open up so like I can do that again. And it's just fun just to build. That's another thing, I think as artists, most of us have other creative things that we like to dip our toes into.
Yeah.
Or in my case, can't say that. But I think that it's like, it's important for us because it helps us grow, and even like, the comic stuff, doing stand up, it puts you out there in front of people, helps you more confident in talking. And, but also, I've noticed too, like I kind of surround myself with comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly thinking about it. I'm constantly writing and working at stuff. But then when I do my caricature stuff for publications, I've noticed ever since I've been like really pushing myself into the comedy, my caricature stuff, it starts to get a little funnier. It starts to get a little bit more, because I'm like looking for it more. You know what I mean? I'm looking for that. So I think it's cool how different aspects can bounce off each other, and why not, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think like I think an overall sense of humanity and humility not only makes you a better human being, but makes everything you do better as well.
We're going to end on that. That's how we're ending this.
I was gonna say assholes never make it in life, but we all know that ain't right.
That's definitely not true. But hey, man, thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate you joining me. It was really awesome talking with you. If you want, let people know where they can find you and anything you got coming up. Let them know where they can go.
Yeah, absolutely. So my Instagram obviously is where I churn out a lot of my artwork. That's Instagram.com/Nolanium. I'm also on Twitter, twitter.com/Nolanium. And I've got a Patreon as well. If you want to support the cause, it's patreon.com/Nolanium. I've got giveaways. I've got exclusive merch. I've got tutorials. I've got wallpapers, coloring pages. And I need to update it a little bit more. So get on there and support the cause.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, man. And to everyone else, we'll see you next time.
Yep. Pleasure.
You want answers?
The truth.